My wife's mom nearly poisoned our daughter with peanuts to prove I was an overprotective father, so I cut her off. A year later, she tried to have our kid removed from preschool behind our backs. She even faked being me to get her out. We went to court and exposed her plan to cure Ivy's allergy with a magic drink. I remember the exact moment I realized marrying Elena meant marrying into her mother's world, too. A world I never really wanted to step into. My name is Daniel. I'm 33 years old, from Eugene, Oregon. The day I married Elena should have been the happiest of my life, and it mostly was. Until the reception. The ceremony was beautiful, held at a vineyard just outside town, all golden light and wildflowers. Elena looked breathtaking. Soft curls, long ivory gown, smile that made my chest ache. I thought, God, I'd go through anything for this woman. I just didn't know that anything would include her mother. At the reception, right after we'd done our first dance and Elena had gone off to hug an old family friend, I turned to grab some water, and there she was, Greta. Greta, my new mother-in-law, looked like she'd walked straight out of a Vogue spread. Champagne-colored satin dress that shimmered when she moved. Full makeup, diamond earrings. It was the kind of look you'd expect from a bride, not her mother. And that was probably the point. She didn't smile when she saw me, just raised her glass slowly and said, "You clean up well." "Thanks," I replied. "It's a great day." Elena looks incredible. That was when she stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something sharp and floral that gave me a headache. Her voice was low, like she didn't want anyone else to hear. "You'll never know Elena the way I do." I blinked. "I'm sorry. She tells you things. But she tells me everything." She sipped her champagne. "Don't make the mistake of thinking you understand her. You never really will." I was too stunned to reply at first, not because she'd said it, but because she meant it. Her eyes were calm, her voice cool, but I could feel the heat behind her words. Possessive, like Elena wasn't her daughter, but her prize. Eventually I managed. "Well, I guess I've got a lifetime to figure her out." She tilted her head, a fake smile on her lips. "We'll see." Then she turned and walked away. For the rest of the night, I kept waiting for her to pull something bigger, a speech, a scene. But she didn't. She mingled, she smiled, she even laughed with my parents. Like she hadn't just threatened me in plain daylight. I didn't tell Elena that night, or the next morning. I figured, okay, that was weird. Maybe she just had too much to drink. Maybe it's just mom stuff. Because the truth is, I didn't want to start our marriage with that kind of fight. I told myself it would get better, that she'd warm up to me, that Greta was just protective, maybe a little controlling, but surely not malicious. And besides, Elena and I wanted kids someday. I wanted my future child to have a loving grandma. I wanted to believe we could be a normal family. But that moment, those words, "You'll never know Elena the way I do," they stayed with me. They clung to me like a splinter under the skin. And I didn't know it yet, but that was the first crack. The first sign that Greta wasn't going to let go. Not of her daughter, and not of control. For years passed before Greta crossed a line I couldn't ignore. By then, Elena and I had a daughter, Ivy. Bright-eyed, chatty, obsessed with picture books and dinosaurs. She had Elena's soft curls and my stubborn streak, and we both adored her. Ivy turned 4 that April, and she had only one request for her birthday party: dinosaurs and tall grandma. That's what she called Greta, tall grandma. Because my mom, short grandma, is 5'2" and round as a cookie. Greta, on the other hand, is built like a runway model who aged into a glass of white wine. I hesitated when Elena brought it up. "She wants Greta there," she said softly while Ivy was out of earshot. "Just for a little bit. I think we should let her come." I stared at the birthday invitations in my hand. "You remember what she said at our wedding, right? She's never apologized." "She's never apologized," Elena echoed. "But she also hasn't caused trouble in a while. Maybe it'll be okay." That, maybe, felt like a loaded gun. Still, I caved. I wanted peace. I wanted Ivy to feel like all her grandparents cared. And a birthday party in our backyard, with a bouncy castle and face painting and 20 screaming toddlers, didn't seem like the place for conflict. Greta showed up 20 minutes early in a tailored pastel pantsuit, heels, and an oversized tote bag. Ivy squealed and ran straight to her. "Tall grandma, did you bring the dinosaur cake?" "Of course I did," Greta said, kissing her cheek. "And some special snacks, too." I walked over as she was unloading. The cake looked fine, standard bakery stuff with green frosting and plastic T-Rex toppers. But the tote bag, I noticed a pack of trail mix with red and gold labeling that sent a chill down my spine. I reached in and pulled it out. "Peanut clusters? Greta, what the hell?" "They're sealed," she said breezily. "I brought them for the adults. Ivy's allergic." "We've told you this." She rolled her eyes. "She's not that allergic." "Yes, she is. It's anaphylactic." "Well, then don't let her eat them." She grabbed the bag back. "You don't have to make everything a crisis, Daniel." I clenched my jaw. "Put the snacks back in your car. All of it. Right now." For a second, I thought she'd argue, but she turned with a forced smile and strutted back to her Lexus. She came back with empty hands, and I breathed, maybe too soon, a sigh of relief. The party rolled on. Ivy bounced until she was dizzy, opened gifts, got her face painted like a triceratops. I started to relax. Greta even offered to help pass out juice boxes. Then, 20 minutes after cake, Ivy began to cough. Light at first, then harder. Her face turned red. She clutched her stomach. "Elena," I said, grabbing Ivy and feeling her back heave. "Something's wrong." The next hour was a blur. EpiPen, ambulance, Ivy gasping, crying, going limp in my arms. At the hospital, the nurse told us it was a mild but definite allergic reaction. "Could have been a lot worse," she said. "You got her help just in time." Elena and I sat in the ER, pale and shaking. Ivy was drowsy but stable. I checked everything. I kept repeating. "I checked the cake, the party favors. I don't know where it came from." And then Elena said it, soft and stunned. "Greta." I didn't want to believe it. But who else? The next morning, I emptied the trash at home and found it. A crumpled foil wrapper from the same peanut candy. Not in the adult snack pile. Not sealed. Just wedged behind the planter where the kids had been playing. I didn't say a word to Greta. I just blocked her number from every phone in the house. Ivy survived, but something in me didn't. By the time the paramedics left our driveway, the party was over in every sense. The kids had gone home early, parents clutching their children a little tighter. Nobody blamed us to our faces. They said all the right things. "So glad Ivy's okay. These things happened. Must have been terrifying." But there was something behind their eyes. Hesitation. Doubt. Like maybe we weren't the careful parents we thought we were. That night, after Ivy had fallen asleep curled between us on the couch, Elena sat in silence scrolling through her phone. Then she said, "They removed me from the group chat." "What group chat?" "The preschool parent thread. All the moms." I was there 1 minute, and the next, gone. I sat up straight. "Did you message them?" "No." Her voice cracked. "I didn't even say anything. They just cut me out." A minute later, my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. "Glad Ivy's okay, but parents should double-check snack safety. You guys dropped the ball." I stared at the screen, throat tightening. Then another message. "This could have been so much worse. Poor thing. Hope CPS doesn't get involved." I showed it to Elena. Her face went white. "I knew it," she whispered. "They think it was us." I tried to fight the panic rising in my chest. "We'll explain it. Tell them Greta brought food and You really think they're going to believe that?" That was the first night we didn't sleep. We lay in bed listening to every creak in the house, jumping at every buzz of the phone. Ivy snored softly between us, oblivious. Safe. But everything outside that room was falling apart. The next morning, just after breakfast, a knock came at the door. 2 quick, sharp raps. I opened it, half expecting a neighbor bringing leftovers or a forgotten gift. Instead, a woman in a slate gray blazer stood on the porch, badge around her neck. "Daniel Haas?" she asked. "Yes, I'm Michelle Sanderson with Child Protective Services. I'm here regarding a report filed about your daughter, Ivy." Elena stepped into the hallway, already pale. "What report?" "I can't disclose the source, ma'am, but we received an anonymous tip about neglect and unsafe conditions at your daughter's birthday party." "Neglect?" Elena's voice rose. She had a freak reaction. "I understand." The woman cut in, her tone clipped. "But I'll need to take a look around. Ask a few questions. Standard procedure." I stepped aside, heart pounding, and watched her walk through our house. She opened cupboards, checked the fridge, took notes on her clipboard. When she got to Ivy's room, she paused. "Are these stuffed animals regularly cleaned?" "Of course," Elena said tightly. "Any medicine in reach?" "No." The questions kept coming. How often Ivy bathed, who her pediatrician was, what snacks we typically kept in the house. At one point, she sniffed a bottle of lotion like it might hold the answers. After an hour, she finally closed her folder. "I'll be submitting a formal report. You should hear back within a week." "Are we?" I swallowed hard. "Are we in trouble?" She hesitated. "Just a moment. That depends on what else comes in." And then she left. Elena collapsed into a kitchen chair, shaking. "She thinks we're hiding something. She thinks we're..." Ivy padded into the room, holding a crayon drawing. "I made this for you, Daddy." It was a stick figure family. Me, Elena, and her. But in the corner stood another figure, tall, with long blonde hair and a frown. Ivy pointed at it. "That's tall Grandma." I didn't speak. I couldn't. Because deep down, I knew who made the call. And I knew she wasn't finished. After the CPS visit, Elena and I stopped pretending this would blow over. We bought a stack of security cameras and motion sensors from the electronics store that afternoon. By evening, I was on a ladder outside, drilling into our porch beams, angling cameras toward the front walk, the driveway, the side gate. I installed 2 more inside, one facing the living room, one in Ivy's playroom. It felt wrong at first, like we were turning our home into a bunker. But the truth was, we weren't safe. Not really. Not with Greta still out there, moving in shadows and whispering poison into people's ears. The next morning, we found it. Elena opened Ivy's cubby at preschool and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. Ivy was already skipping toward the playground with her teacher. Elena unfolded the page slowly, her hands starting to tremble. It was just a sentence, scrawled in red marker. "Real fathers protect their children." Gee, I didn't even realize I'd grabbed the paper out of her hands. I just stared at it, rage crawling through my ribs like barbed wire. "That's her handwriting," Elena whispered. "I've seen it. On Ivy's birthday cards. Her Christmas notes." "Jesus Christ," I muttered, crumpling the paper. "She left this for our 4-year-old. When we got home, I rewound the outdoor camera footage from the night before. Around 2:14 a.m., headlights flashed at the edge of the screen. A silver SUV crept by our curb, paused, and then rolled on. Greta drove a silver Lexus. She's watching us, Elena said, rubbing her temples. She's circling the house in the middle of the night. And she got into the school, I added, to put that note in Ivy's cubby. We didn't sleep that night either. I left the porch light on, kept my phone next to the bed with the security app open, checking motion alerts every time a branch moved outside. Then, 2 days later, we got the voicemail. Elena found it first. She listened, then passed me the phone without a word. It was Greta. Her voice was oddly cheerful. I'm just calling to check in on little Ivy. Poor thing, she's had such a rough month. But don't worry, I've been keeping an eye out. We can't always trust that people will make the right choices for children, can we? I suppose that's why I stay so involved. She let out a soft chuckle. Some people call it obsessive. I call it maternal instinct. Then a long pause. Give Ivy my love. Click. That message played in my head for days. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, the school called. Mr. Hawes, we just wanted to confirm that you're sending someone else to pick Ivy up today? What? I asked. A man called earlier. The receptionist said he was her father. He said you'd been in an accident and he needed to collect her early. Elena, sitting next to me on the couch, sat bolt upright. I'm on the emergency list, I said slowly. I didn't make that call. Who gave permission? The receptionist sounded nervous. We didn't release her. The voice, it didn't match yours. So we stalled and told him to bring ID. He hung up before we could press further. I couldn't breathe for a second. We picked Ivy up early that day, both of us. When she saw us, she ran into my arms, giggling, like the world hadn't shifted on its axis. But behind her smile, something new had crept in. A little wariness. A quiet tension. She asked us later, why did Grandma say someone bad was coming? That night, I installed 2 more locks. And I didn't care how paranoid it made us look, because the truth was, Greta wasn't just watching anymore. She was trying to get inside. By the time Ivy's preschool called us for a second safety confirmation, we knew Greta was playing a longer game. It started subtle. Whispers from other parents at drop-off. Kids not waving back to Ivy. One of the moms, Rachel, who used to invite us to every play date, suddenly crossed the sidewalk when she saw me approach. Then Elena got an email from the school's PDA coordinator. Due to several concerns raised by community members, we're temporarily suspending Ivy's participation in the upcoming field trip. We're sure you understand. She didn't. I didn't. We emailed back, asked for clarification, asked who raised concerns. No answer. A week later, Ivy didn't get invited to Lily D's birthday. Lily and Ivy had shared snacks on the swing set just 3 weeks earlier. I asked Elena, have you seen anything online? She hesitated. I checked the parent forums. What did you find? She turned her phone toward me. Screenshots. Dozens of them. All anonymous accounts, all with the same tone, friendly at first, then ominous. Just wanted to share. I heard from a neighbor that the Haas girl had a peanut reaction at her own birthday. Parents weren't paying attention. Does anyone else feel weird letting their kids over there? Someone said CPS was involved. Red flags. They were all lies. Hints. Innuendos. The kind of thing people didn't question, because they sounded like concern. One of the usernames was ConcernGrand65. I didn't need confirmation. I knew. Greta was trying to make us pariahs. I started looking deeper, pulled metadata, matched posting times with old messages she'd sent Elena in the past. I dug through her online accounts, the public ones, church donations, Facebook comments, her Amazon wishlist, and there it was. An archived post from a health forum, seeking natural allergy solutions for granddaughter. Tired of modern doctors saying everything's dangerous. Would love ideas. Posted under the name GJ Caregiver. My chest went cold. That same week, Ivy started drawing strange pictures. They weren't violent, just off. Kids with big excess over their mouths. Bottles labeled strong milk. A figure with long legs and yellow hair holding out a spoon. What's this, sweetie? I asked her one night, trying to keep my voice light. She pointed at the figure. That's Grandma's milk. She said if I drink it, my peanut stuff goes away. I glanced at Elena. She looked like she'd been slapped. She gave you something to drink? Elena asked gently. Just a sip. It tasted like plant water. She said it was a special cure, and not to tell you yet because it was a secret surprise. Ivy beamed, proud of herself. She said I'd be stronger. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I stayed up, reviewing every drawing, compiling screenshots, even digging through the trash to find the wrapper from a health supplement Greta once sent us last year, unopened, because we didn't trust it. It was a homeopathic immune drop meant to retrain the body. I Googled the ingredients. It contained trace amounts of tree nuts. The next morning, I emailed our lawyer, a friend from college. I didn't even ask for legal advice yet. I just wrote, I think my mother-in-law is trying to harm my daughter. Or worse, cure her. She wrote back 5 minutes later. You need to document everything, and do not let your daughter be alone with that woman ever again. Greta had moved beyond gossip, beyond sabotage. She was trying to rewrite Ivy's reality, and she didn't care what it cost. The next time Greta showed up at Ivy's school, she wasn't even pretending anymore. Elena got the call that morning while I was in the garage replacing a faulty car battery. She sounded breathless. Daniel, Greta got into the school. I dropped the wrench. What do you mean she got in? She signed in using a fake ID number. Said she was on Ivy's pickup list. The receptionist recognized her and stalled. They called me immediately. I got in the car and sped toward the school. My ears were ringing the whole drive. I felt like I was gripping the wheel through concrete. When I got there, Greta was already gone. Apparently she'd stepped outside to make a call and never came back. But we had enough. Between the forged pickup attempt, Ivy's drawings, the anonymous posts, and the voicemail, it was time to draw a line in the sand. That night, we sat with our lawyer, Kate, a former classmate of mine who specialized in family and protective law. She'd already read every screenshot I'd sent and pulled the state statutes herself. She's escalating, Kate said, looking over Ivy's drawings spread out on our kitchen table. I don't think she wants custody. Not really. I think she wants control. Elena nodded slowly. That's always been her way. Everything with her is about winning. Well, she's about to lose, Kate replied. We started the paperwork for a cease and desist and a formal petition for a restraining order. But Greta beat us to the courthouse. 3 days later, we were served. I opened the envelope on our porch and felt my stomach turn over. Petition for grandparent visitation rights. Filed by Greta Langford. She claimed Elena and I had unfairly severed a previously strong emotional bond between Ivy and her. Claimed she'd been Ivy's primary alternate caregiver for the first 3 years of Ivy's life. That she had been involved in daily routines, school pickup, and emergency care. All lies. All carefully framed. She even included a statement suggesting that our recent emotional instability referencing the CPS visit proved we were overwhelmed parents acting from impulse, not logic. And then I saw it, a copy of the initial CPS case number, listed as evidence. I wanted to put my fist through a wall. She's weaponizing it. I told Elena. She did call CPS. She planted that entire setup just to use it later. Kate called us later that afternoon. She's banking on the judge seeing her as the steady hand, she said. You two is paranoid, distrusting, overreactive. She's trying to make us look crazy, Elena said, almost laughing. We have cameras because she stalks us, and she's spinning it like we're unstable. She's counting on you staying quiet, Kate replied. Let's make some noise. We submitted everything. The security footage of her car circling our house. The anonymous forum posts matched to her accounts. The audio recording from her voicemail. Ivy's drawings. The peanut supplement wrapper with nut oils and the ingredients. Everything. That night, while packing a folder for Kate, Ivy walked in holding a new drawing. It was a picture of a woman in a long dress pouring something into a cup. The woman had a speech bubble above her head. This will make you strong, but you can't tell mommy. I asked softly, Ivy, did grandma say that to you? She nodded. She said I wouldn't need my allergy stuff anymore. Just the magic milk. That was it. That was the last straw for Elena. I watched her break down in our hallway, shaking and silent, face buried in her hands. The next morning, Kate filed an emergency hearing request with the county court. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel like prey. I felt like we were finally hunting back. I didn't sleep the night before the hearing. Neither did Elena. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall like it owed her an apology. I watched the soft light from the hallway stretch across the carpet and tried not to imagine the worst. What if the judge believed her? What if Ivy had to grow up thinking the world didn't believe us? Or worse, didn't protect her? The courtroom wasn't like it looks on TV. No sweeping music. No dramatic shouting, just cold air, stiff benches, and a judge who looked like he hated caffeine and happiness. Greta walked in like she was attending a charity gala. Pale gray suit, pearls, not a hair out of place. Her lips were pressed into a modest smile, and her posture radiated martyrdom. She didn't look at me, or Elena. She just sat down and folded her hands on the table in front of her. Next to her was a lawyer, young, smug, and already scrolling through his tablet like our lives were just another bullet point on his calendar. Kate leaned over and whispered, "Don't react. No matter what, let the evidence speak." Greta's lawyer went first. He painted a picture of a grandmother, unfairly cast out, a woman who had spent years nurturing her grandchild, only to be frozen out by emotionally reactive parents during a time of stress. He referenced the CPS report, said Greta had grave concerns about Ivy's safety, that her client had only acted out of love and instinct. He even mentioned family tradition, Greta's history of caretaking, her right to remain involved. Elena squeezed my hand so hard I felt her nails in my palm. Then it was Kate's turn. She didn't waste time. She started with the voicemail. The judge listened through earbuds while the courtroom remained dead silent. Can't always trust that people will make the right choices for children, can we? I suppose that's why I stay so involved. He removed the earbuds without expression and nodded for Kate to continue. She did, with the forum posts. Greta's lawyer objected. No proof these accounts are my clients'. Kate smiled. We traced the IP addresses. Objection overruled. Then came the school pickup attempt, the fake ID number, the front office statement, then Ivy's drawings. Kate laid them out, one by one, like evidence in a crime scene. This is Ivy's handwriting, she said. She drew this after telling her parents that Greta gave her a substance she called magic milk. She pointed at a figure with stick arms and long yellow hair, holding a glass labeled strong. And we found this, Kate continued, holding up the wrapper from Greta's discarded supplement bottle, a natural cure containing nut extract, left in the garbage behind the Haas house after a visit from Greta. The courtroom stayed quiet. Even Greta's lawyer didn't move. Finally, Kate pressed play on the last piece. A short clip from our home security camera. Greta's voice, faint but audible, floating from just outside the front porch. They'll see eventually. A child deserves better than parents who think fear is love. And then clear as day, the sound of our mailbox slamming shut. The judge asked Greta if she'd like to respond. She stood slowly, straightened her jacket, cleared her throat. "All I've ever done is love my granddaughter," she said, her voice calm and brittle. "What kind of world are we living in where a grandmother is punished for trying to help?" Then something cracked in her voice. "She has fake allergies." Greta snapped suddenly. "They're imagined. The whole world's gone soft, afraid of food and feelings. I was trying to help that little girl grow stronger. Her parents are suffocating her." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Are you finished?" Greta sat down, face flushed. It took him less than 5 minutes. He ruled in our favor. Full restraining order. No visitation. Mandatory psychiatric evaluation. Ivy school notified. Greta's name removed from all emergency forms. Permanent. Elena covered her mouth and cried silently. I sat still, watching Greta stare at us like she was seeing us for the first time, not as the threat to her image, but as the people she couldn't break. Outside the courtroom, Ivy's drawing fluttered in my pocket. A picture of a girl between two tall stick figures, both holding her hands. Above it, she'd written, "My safe place." She was finally going to have one. We moved a month after the hearing. No dramatic announcement. No goodbye party. We just packed up the house in silence, loading boxes into the back of a rented truck while Ivy napped on the couch one last time. Our lawyer had suggested the relocation. Clean break, she'd said. Fresh school, fresh neighbors. No footprints Greta can follow. It sounded like overkill then. It didn't now. Our new place was smaller, but it was tucked into a quiet cul-de-sac just outside Bend. Evergreen trees, wide skies, neighbors who waved without asking questions. On the first day, as we carried in boxes and flattened cardboard, a woman from next door came over with a woven basket. "Welcome," she said with a warm smile. "Figured you could use some snacks. Everything's allergy safe." I checked twice. Elena and I both froze. Then we laughed. It was quiet and nervous at first, but real. Ivy's room was the first one we finished. She picked out her own new curtains, purple with silver stars. We let her tape her dinosaur drawings to the wall, the ones without Greta in them. She didn't talk about tall grandma anymore. She didn't ask why she couldn't see her. She just slept through the night for the first time in weeks. 3 weeks into our new life, Ivy made her first friend at her new preschool, a kid named Milo who loved monster trucks and hated carrots. Elena got invited to a new parent circle. I joined a weekend hiking group with a couple of dads from the neighborhood. We didn't talk about Greta, not to the new people, not even to each other, unless we had to. But sometimes, late at night, I'd catch Elena scrolling through her phone, double-checking locks on apps, clearing old contacts. And I'd wake up to the soft click of her checking the front door a second time. Healing doesn't happen all at once, but we were getting there. A month later, a news alert popped up on my phone. Local judge grants full restraining order in grandparent custody case. Greta's name wasn't in the headline, but it was in the article, along with terms like unfounded accusations, unauthorized school entry, and court-mandated psychiatric review. The next day, Ivy's former preschool teacher, the only one who ever believed us, sent a text. "I saw the article. I'm so glad you got out. People are finally realizing what you were dealing with." A few days after that, the messages started from the others. "Rachel, from the old parent group. We were wrong. I'm sorry. If you ever come back this way, please reach out." I showed it to Elena. She read it and said nothing. Just tapped delete and slid her phone into the drawer. We didn't need the apology. We just needed peace. That weekend, we sat out back on our little porch, sipping cider while Ivy played on the grass with sidewalk chalk. She drew a picture of our family, stick figures again. This time, no shadows, no frowns, just us. And over it, in big, wobbly letters, "Me and my people, safe forever." I turned to Elena, raised my glass, and said, "To the people who matter." She clinked hers gently against mine. "To Ivy, and to never looking over our shoulders again." We didn't have to. Not anymore.